Hey guys, Sen here. It's been a while since I sat down and recorded an actual video, so here we are, and what better way to come back with a nice Golem video. I got a live attack, I got some replays, I've got some bonus replays, I got it all in this video, some beautiful peak 2 shots, and some beautiful attacks in general. And if you've been wondering where I've been, well, I've still been here. I've just been streaming instead of making videos. I've been streaming every single week at 11 a.m. EST, so if you want to watch how Clan Capital gets played at the highest level, I show off peak 2 shots, non-default 1 shots, and hopefully don't get too many plus 750s on my streams. So every week at 11 a.m. EST, hope to see you all there. Let's get straight to this video. Alright, we are in, and we have to be careful about time because the Golem is going to be slow at the start, and I want to flank all the way around with my minion, and also my Inferno Dragons. I brought an extra Inferno Dragon for the left cannon cart because actually there's this cannon over here that I might be able to snipe with the Inferno Dragon if he works his way around. And let's just drop in our Golem like this. I won't drop the haste just yet. I want to give myself enough time to take out the multi-cannon so we can actually set up the funnel, and he should hopefully stay outside of range of the Inferno Tower. Perfect. He will take more damage from the cannon, but that can't be avoided. I just have to make sure that the funnel is good. And so let's open up the wall up ahead. Actually, I had to use 2 rams for that. And then with some barbs, I'm able to finish off the multi-cannon. And now the Golem does go towards the right-hand side where I wanted him to go, so perfect. And I can't take out that Spear Thrower because there is that Tesla that pops around the Inferno Tower, so I'll just worry about that on the second attack. Maybe I should drop the haste more towards the left so I could get a better angle on the Golem on the second hit. But we'll just let the Golem work his way around. 2 minutes on the clock. Like I said, time is a big issue, and I also forgot to drop my Frost Spell at the very start. So let's see if we can do it on the fly. It's very tight, so drop it like this. Should hit everything. Yep, perfect. So that was actually a very close frost. If you can see, it barely covers the center of that Inferno Tower as well as the peak. But I knew it could be done because I did calculate it ahead of time. And now 1 minute 40. So yeah, time is ticking. Golem, go faster, go faster. Basically, the second the Golem opens up the map towards the left, I will drop down my barb because there's only 1 minute 30 left. And that will pull out the dragon. Oh, there's a zap trap. Stinking zap trap. Now pull out with a ram. More barbs. We just have to make sure that Inferno Dragon wins that interaction. Perfect. We're good to drop in our minions for the blast blow. Golem is now wrapping his way inside after killing all those trash, but he's not going after the bomb tower, which I thought he would actually take out first. And now we have a barb left. I don't even know where I can use it. We're going to Eye Dragon on top of the cannon cart. Golem somehow goes straight after the peak. I don't know how he managed to do that. But those giants should go down to the minions, and that Inferno Dragon is going to do a great job at clearing out the enemy cart. If we can grab the cannon down here, that would be amazing. Golem does finally go down, but we're going to get all of those defensive troops on the left-hand side just like I wanted to. 30 seconds left. I probably do not have enough time for the cannon. I might just use the barb to try to clear some trash. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll just use the barb to clear the trash up the top-hand side, and that will make life easier on the second attack. And we can just directly access that Inferno if we really want to. Where do we want to use the Zap? I'm thinking that I'll just use the Zap on top of the Rocket Artillery. That way, on the second attack, the Golem can actually one-shot that thing. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have enough time to finish off the cannon. I'm like 2 seconds away from being able to do so, but we have done a very good first attack, and let's see if we can finish this thing off. Alright, so we already planned the second attack before we even went in with our first, and at this point, it's just about whether we can execute it. So you can see there's a Tesla that popped on the right-hand side of the Inferno Tower, so I'm guessing that the other Tesla, because there's 2 on the peak, is going to be towards the left-hand side. So we'll Frost on top of the Rocket Artillery and the left Tesla as well as the Inferno Tower, and then probably 1 backside Frost on the backside Rocket Artillery. Then we'll have a Zap to try to reset the Inferno Tower as needed. So we'll drop down this Frost Belt like so. Golem in on top of the Spear Thrower. Some ramps to tank that Inferno Tower for a little bit to make sure it doesn't do too much damage to me. And doesn't ramp up too fast against my Golem. And now we'll use P.E.K.K.A. I think I said that I might use a P.E.K.K.A. over here, and I decided that that would be a good call. Barb on the top hand trash building. to make sure that we don't time fail over there. And then Barb on top of this giant cannon to finish that thing off. Unless the blast bow kills it. It looks like it will. But the P.E.K.K.A is heading in. Golem is also going to head in, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. And after the P.E.K.K.A finishes off the peak with the Golem, it should wrap back around for the bomb tower above it. So we're looking very solid so far. I will use a ram as well as Barb to finish off the left-hand side cannon. Golem should go in towards the bottom left. P.E.K.K.A, like I said, will wrap up. See if we have any buildings that we missed. We have not. And Golem goes back up towards the top, and we'll try to funnel him a little bit to make sure we can save a little bit of time. Ram, Barb, finish off that cannon. P.E.K.K.A is doing a great job. It'll actually finish off the bomb tower for me, so the Golem will not have to backtrack. A Frost, I think I drop it like this. That will hit the rock artillery as well as the spear thrower. Multi-cannon will go down. I have one last barb, one more zap. I can even zap the rock artillery to make sure that we can stun it, as well as the Golem can finish it off in one attack. And so just like that, we're looking very good. The only thing that can really stop me at this point is zap traps. And there's even a P.E.K.K.A still alive. That P.E.K.K.A has done so much work finishing off that Inferno Tower, finishing off that blast bow. And now it will also carry through to the very end and hopefully even give us a little bit of bonus gold. There is a zap trap. Oh, there's a lot of zaps. Let's barb over there just in case there's more traps so the Golem doesn't have to even walk over there. Another bomb, another 2 bombs actually, but we've got this in the bag. P.E.K.K.A still alive, Golem's still alive, some barbs are still alive, and that was a beautiful 2-shot going all the way around on the first attack and killing all those defensive troops was so critical in making sure that the Golem didn't have to deal with all of those on the backside on the second hit. And now we have a couple of replays, so here we go. This peak was just a 3-shot peak and move on. I was not planning to 2-shot this thing in my wildest dreams, but sometimes Golem can do some absolutely crazy stuff, and let's see what he can do here. So against this base, I don't think Sparky ever works. The only Sparky angle that I can see while I was scouting was the far right corner with a bunch of 2x2 buildings that are within Sparky chain distance of each other. But the problem is, if you send in a Sparky towards this angle, you are sending Sparky to her doom because she's going straight into a dragon between all of these air defenses, as well as blast bows and a ton of damage on either flank, and that's going to be impossible to navigate. So Sparky never works here, and so Golem has to be the only call, because every other angle, you're going into a cart, you're going to giants, that is not a good idea either. And so we just have to make sure that our Golem, we can get as much as he can. And there's actually a very good Frost here with a peak, Inferno Tower, Rock Artillery, and a bunch of point defenses, all huge threats to the Golem, so that's great value over there. Some barbs to clear the buildings towards the very start. And I also wanted to pull this car outside of the base, outside of range of all those defenses, so we could actually deal with that with the Golem on the outside. But I'm actually late with my Golem, and he gets zapped down by the Tesla, and then the cart walks back, and the Golem is sad and all alone, and the cart does not want to come to him. But I don't haste the Golem at the very start, so the Golem can actually just slowly but surely pull the cart over and deal with the cart. So normally I'll use a barb to actually chip down the cart, so the Golem can actually one-shot that thing. But unfortunately, I was actually planning to send the Golem towards the far left and try to break open the base over there, but the Golem walks towards the center. I have to use those barbs instead to try to set a bit of a funnel so he doesn't walk all the way around the base and starts going towards the defenses. But we have a huge problem here because yeah, there are Inferno Towers in the middle of the base where the Golem is headed, but I can just use the P.E.K.K.A towards the far left-hand side. I'm just adjusting on the fly because the Golem is not going where I planned him to. I wanted to go towards the far left and try to deal with the peak on the very first attack, but yeah, this is a bit awkward. We have to reset that Inferno Tower with the Zap, so also it might allow the Rock Artillery to get one-shot by the Golem later on if needed, but that Golem ain't never reaching that freaking Rocket Artillery with that other Inferno Tower. The Golem runs straight into the other Inferno on the other side of the base, and I just have to send in my last sad Hog Rider because it can never target that Inferno Tower and stun that thing to try to take out a giant cannon while all the defenses were distracting. I have a barb and a ram still left in the bag. I'll use the barb to clear some trash up the right hand side, a ram to open up some walls, and maybe test for any zap traps. But yeah, things did not quite go to plan on the very first attack, but I was actually not too upset from here because I was never planning to 2-shot this thing anyways. So I was just like, alright, this is enough for a 3-shot. Let's just chuck a couple more Golems at this thing. But now you'll see why I bring a P.E.K.K.A, and this is one of the things that I do differently from other players. I really like those P.E.K.K.As, especially when you can find good angles for them. Another thing I like doing is using barbs on the outside to clear the clan houses as the Golem tanks all the defenses in the middle, so that way those barbs can clear a ton of clan houses and save a lot of time so the Golem is not walking around the base while he's getting shot down by everything. But we'll frost on all these point defenses as well as the Dragon's Path, and then the second frost on the blast bow on the Inferno Tower on that spear thrower. That's a juicy frost. And then if we're trying to kill this dragon, there's so many air defenses around, so you have to know how you can kill the enemy super and as early as you can drop your eye dragon. So I had to wait for the unfrosted rapid rocket to go down, and now we can drop the eye dragon, and that frosted rapid rocket, he will go down before finishing off my eye dragon because the Golem takes him out, takes out the Tesla, and will help take out those enemy giants inside the frostbow as well. A barb to go around the outside to clear the trash plane so I don't run into too many time issues. And at this point, it's just all up to the Golem, but we still have the P.E.K.K.A, we still have the giant, still have the Hog Rider in the tank. I bring a jump spell. This was an extremely risky call, but I decided to take this risk instead of a zap spell to reset the Inferno Tower, and I was just going to rely on the Hog Rider to reset the Inferno Tower as needed. Once the Golem starts walking into range of the peak and starts tanking the peak, we can drop down the P.E.K.K.A. We can use the Giant to tank for all of those defenses on the P.E.K.K.A's approach. Hog Rider to take out that Inferno Tower, as well as it will help pull a zap trap for me, which is a big bonus. And then the P.E.K.K.A. will go in for the far left, take out all of those defenses, the multi-cannon, the rocket artillery, the cannons, as well as assist on the peak to help the Golem get through it. Just like in the first attack, that barb ends his journey by pulling one last zap trap. The P.E.K.K.A. will help DPS down that peak because this does so much damage. And from here, I never thought this base was ever going to be possible to two-shot, but the Golem and the P.E.K.K.A. just have perfect synergy here. The P.E.K.K.A. goes left, the Golem goes right. P.E.K.K.A. one-shots a bunch of defenses so that the Golem can stay alive. There's just one cannon left, but the Golem is really, really low, and he just needs to get to that P.E.K.K.A. or to that cannon as quickly as possible with the P.E.K.K.A. to help tank, actually, because the P.E.K.K.A. is actually very healthy. With the Frostspell, with the Giant, we're actually able to keep up the HP of the P.E.K.K.A., and it will actually tank for the Golem to perfectly take down the cannon. The P.E.K.K.A. takes down the bomb tower, so they're just working side by side, but time is actually getting really close. It was a 9k finish with like 70% still on the base, and one of the big issues with Golem is time. So usually you want to kill a bunch of clan houses on the first attack, but the barb was able to do a great job up the far right hand side. And one last huge interaction for me, the Golem has longer range to the P.E.K.K.A, so the Golem is able to go left, the P.E.K.K.A is able to go right, and we are able to not time fail because they go after different clan houses. So it was like a Batman and Robin situation, and they were able to take out the rest of this 9k finish. And so here we go. This is a difficult and interesting peak. In the center here, the blast bows as well as the multi-cannons are within Sparky chain distance. When Sparky's attacking a 4x4 structure, any buildings that's touching can be chained off of it. So there's a huge chain value in the center here. We have to come in with Sparky, and so that's exactly what we're going to do. If we're going to come in with Sparky against this base, this peak in the back end side has to be frozen, because if peak ever locks onto Sparky, you can never tank that thing with giants. The peak locks onto the highest density of troops, and it's going to be a huge problem for me. Ram up the left-hand side, ram up the right-hand side. They'll open up the map for deployment with those barbs inside, outside of range of the blast, as well as the cannons. Then, because there was actually a ram that pulled a zap up the right-hand side, I assume because the space is sort of symmetrical, there could be a zap up the left-hand side that did not get pulled. There isn't, but then we'll send in a ram up the middle to open up the wall towards the cannon. Notice I dropped the ram towards this wall on the right-hand side of the cannon and not the left-hand side, because I want Sparky to go up the right-hand side as I send her in some more rams to distract. Rams are the best tank in the clan capital, and once Sparky kills the first cannon, I can target these left-hand and right-hand side spear throwers with the Hog Riders. Normally, I never recommend bringing Hog Riders with your Sparky attacks, because those Hog Riders can kill the defense that Sparky is on and completely ruin your chains, but I don't want Sparky to go up the left-hand side as well as the right-hand side, because there's no other chain value off of those spear throwers. It would waste a lot of time. Sparky takes 4 seconds to shoot, and that's why her biggest weakness is going to be defense spacing. So if I can use those Hog Riders to finish off those spear throwers and then Sparky and chain down both of those rapid rockets at once, she'll accelerate herself straight towards the blast bow. It takes less tanking for her to get into the base and just go straight towards the defenses, towards a right hand side angle. So I'm going to emphasize that my first wall break was towards the right-hand side because that plays a huge role in Sparky pathing later on into the attack. Once Sparky locks onto the blast bow, then we'll give her the rage. 2 rage Sparky chains will finish off a maxed out blast bow. And then we'll send in another ram towards the right-hand side because I want to use the Sparky to lock on towards this air bombs. Although this base is largely symmetrical, the air bombs on the left-hand side was put towards the peak instead, so there's no buildings that I can use to chain the left-hand side rock artillery in the same way I can chain the right-hand side rock artillery over there. And I know because this air defense and multi-mortar, they're also spaced in a way that I can't get any Sparky chain value off of them. I don't want to angle my Sparky towards the center where she has a chance of locking onto both sides, because that would absolutely kill the tempo of my Sparky. So Sparky's heading in towards the base. She'll head towards the air bombs and huge Sparky chains on top of the rock artillery as well as the Inferno Tower. There is the enemy super in the middle. That's why you have the Inferno Dragon, but there is an air defense up the left-hand side, and we have to make sure that we drop our Inferno Dragon outside of range of it. And oh my god, the air defense is shooting my Inferno Dragon. The rocket artillery also splashed my Inferno Dragon, so it's actually going to die. That Inferno Dragon is not standing in range of that air defense. Look at the shadow of that thing. That is some bull crap. I was tilting when I saw that. My Inferno Dragon is going to die. The enemy super is going to survive on a sliver, and it's going to kill my Sparky before it finishes off the Inferno Tower, as well as done a ton of damage towards that rocket artillery. I was so frustrated at this point. Regardless of whether I killed the enemy super, this was going to be a very hard finish, and now it's going to be close to impossible, but we'll try to make some magic happen. That enemy super surviving is going to cost me an extra eye dragon. I frost the enemy rock artillery, the giant cannon, the spirit thrower, gray frost, as well as covers the enemy raid cart to make that thing slower. I don't drop my haste spell immediately, so I can drop down my next Inferno Dragon a little bit further away from the air defense and finish off that enemy super eventually, and the Golem is heading his way in. Once he tanks the enemy giant cannon as well as all of those defenses towards the center of the base, I drop down a Hog Rider to collapse the flank, as well as the other flank with the Inferno Tower with a barb, with a zap to finish off the rock artillery, and then those Hog Riders are going to do so much work for me. I also dropped down a barb inside the haste spell earlier to clear the trash up the left-hand side to set a huge funnel for the Golem. Notice how I'm using those barbs, using those hogs, using some more barbs to try to set a huge funnel for Golem to control his pathing. Although Golem can take a very random pathing because he ignores walls, because he goes for any building, you can still control his pathing if you're smart about where you drop your remaining 90 troops. So we'll use the Hog Riders. They'll also grab a Rapid Rocket. The Golem will finish off the rocket artillery. I drop down a ram towards the right-hand side of this air bomb because there's a 2x2 gap where there could be giant bombs, and I want that thing to check for any giant bombs before I send the wizards on the peak. Because the peak will lock onto the fattest troop, the Golem will always get locked onto when he's in your army, so we'll use the wizards while he's distracting all those defenses. Those barbs will survive because there's no traps, and then we'll tank the spirit thrower, and those wizards can chain down all of those buildings around the peak. So a perfect harmony of troops as the barb is still working his way up left. He's already cleared like 5 trash huts, and he is going to be the MVP of this attack. I started this attack at around 30%, and the biggest problem when you're trying to go for peaks with Golem is that you can probably time fail, especially when you're only at 30% at the start of the second attack. So I have to keep this barbarian alive and have to keep him clearing some more trash. So because I have a spare ram that I didn't have to use for the Inferno Tower, I'll use the ram to open up the wall to lead the giants in towards the Golem. So instead of locking on top of my barb towards the left, those will survive and help assist on clearing some more trash. The wizards finish off all those buildings around the peak and then assist in DPSing down the peak alongside the Golem. The barb is still moving his way towards the left-hand side. Golem is going to kill all of those defenses in the middle. The barb has already killed like 12 trash huts, and after the Golem finishes off the cannon, barb perfectly finishes off this trash hut, and he's still going to wrap his way around. So that hasted barb was timed perfectly to clear all of the trash as the Golem cleared all of the defenses inside the base. Once the map gets opened up towards 12 o'clock, I still have 2 barbs, so I'll send in another barb towards the 12 o'clock section, chip down some more buildings. Golem is so healthy, and there's just a spirit thrower, just a cannon, and a giant cannon left on the field, so power is never going to be the issue. It's all about time, and time galore we have because we have another barb for the right hand side to collapse the remaining trash buildings. The hero hasted barb, he's finally going to go down to a little bomb. He took one too many traps, but not only do I kill this base when it was at 30%, but I do so with around 30 seconds remaining. So this was an absolutely perfect Golem finish against what should have been a close to impossible peak 2 shot. So here we have a bonus replay. This is not a Golem attack against the Capital Peak in the raid weekend. This is actually a Dragon Cliffs done in a tournament setting. So if you didn't know, there is actually a competitive side to Clan Capital, and it's extremely well balanced at the highest level. So Dragon Cliffs, which is the hardest district, has maybe a 20-30% hit rate. So none of that home village 90% hit rate nonsense. Competitive Clan Capital is where it is at. So if you're interested in learning more, it's really fun and way different from what you're used to in the raid weekend. Make sure you join the Discord server in the link in the description, and you can find out more about the 1v1 system as well as tournaments like I am playing in right now. So this is the Anshu Invitational, the semifinals, where I'm playing for the Foons against this Dragon Cliffs. So Dragon Cliffs, when it's max, is super nasty. They're meant to defend against Sparkies and Golems. This tournament actually has a ban on miners where you're only allowed to take 5 at most, so you can't miner spam this either, and you have to deal with these annoying walls at the start that constrict your deployment, along with the district hall that just make it so hard to deploy your troops closer to the buildings, because you had to take this thing out before you can deploy closer. But we can actually circumvent that with a jump spell at the very start, and we can open up the walls without having to break through them with ramps, because ramps will target the bomb tower walls instead. We can surge forward, rage lead into the district hall, as well as clipping the Inferno Tower, and we're about to do a throwback attack. So people are defending Golems and Sparky. We're going to come in with a Wizard Bomb Archers. Rage Balloons will chip down the Inferno Tower. Those Death Bomb crashes will grab the Dragon Post as they surge towards the air defense next. Our second Rage is going to go down towards the Blast Bow and lead me deeper into the base, and I have a Wizard Bomb set up for the peak. So, well, not the peak, but the district hall. I am getting so mixed up because I'm so used to hitting capital peaks, but the district hall is now wizard bombable against Dragon Cliffs because they made those dragons shoot 1 second slower, so the wizards are not as easily distracted by those dragons shooting at your distracting troops. And so now we can set things up with a 1/2 speed wizard bomb like the good old times. Rams to go into tank, going in for the bomb tower. The dragon shoots super slowly so it can never distract my wizards. Look at all that wizard chain value, as well as the dragon is going down. The other dragon is getting lured over because its post was destroyed, and it's getting pulled by the giant as well as the barbs. And so my wizards are super safe as they chain down the first dragon as well as chain down a second dragon. So a huge wizard bomb killing 2 dragons, the district hall, and a bunch of buildings. But we're not done yet. Just like the good old times, we're doing a multiple wizard bomb attack. I have the second rage already set up, and so I can use that for the blast bow. If you know your wizard chains, you know I can chain the wizard tower, the spear thrower, the cannon, as well as another wizard tower. So huge chains over there. The maxed out blast bow does have 7200 HP, so it has a lot of HP to chain off of. Wizard chains do 40% damage, and so most of these small buildings will go down, or at least close to go down. We just have to make sure that we clear a path by using those archers to finish off all those flanking defenses that could distract my wizards. I want to directly target this blast bow because you have to be extremely fast with those dragons. Even though they shoot slower, you have to be careful. A barb to check for any zap traps, because it's very common for people to put their zap traps near blast bows and inferno towers in a competitive setting to stop hog gliders as well as miners. And now giant to tank the blast bow, ram to tank the spear thrower, 3 wizards on top of the blast bow now. Slow it down at 1/2 speed like the good old days, and watch those wizards chain down everything around that blast bow. And then once the dragon starts melting through my giant, I'll get a couple more chains off the wizards, killing off the wizard tower that was low, as well as dealing huge damage to that cannon as well as dragons. So huge first hit against Dragon Cliffs. You want to take out as many of these key targets as possible. There are 6 dragons, 2 infernos, and 1 blast bow. On this first attack, we were able to get 5 out of those 9 targets, and so we had a massive first hit as well as blasted through the entry. Normally, when you're able to get an attack that the base builder was not expecting, because you never expect for an attacker to try to go straight in towards a district hall like this with so many annoying walls that stop golems, that stop sparkies. You normally don't expect an attacker to get this much on the entry like this, but when you are able to get this much on the entry like this, you're even able to set up 2 shots against very hard bases like Dragon Cliff. So it's still not over. There's still an Inferno Tower. There's still 3 dragons and a ton of defenses on the backside. But in this tournament, you actually can pass over a second hit towards your teammates. So you have 2 attacks per base and see how much percent stars you can get. In this case, I passed my second hit over to Death Star, my teammate, who's much better at dragon spam with graveyards and frosts and barrels and all of this nonsense than I am. I'm a fan of those old strats, the wizard bombs, the archers. He's better with these new strats to help take out the Dragon Cliffs in ELO and tournament settings. So he's going in, starting off using the Barb to finish off those bottom defenses down below with the Spear Thrower with the air defense. Then he'll use Frost on top of the Inferno Tower as well as the Dragon on the entry to slow that all down and grab as many air defenses as he can. Graveyards down. It will help pull the other dragons into him, as well as distracting the air defenses away from the wizard towers if he can. Barrels to go in to tank the air defenses, to tank the dragons. Eye dragons to snipe the enemy supers, as well as his super dragons to try to blow through all those defenses. A lot of the buildings are clumped up, so he can get some really nice dragon chains on a lot of them, and a couple of rocket balloons to try to snipe air defenses on the side as he can. So you can see the graveyard locks down that left dragon along with the Frostball so nicely for his dragons to melt through that thing. The last dragon goes down. He just spammed the entire base and overwhelmed all the dragons, all the air defenses at once, because the air defenses in the Clan Capital are extremely strong. But if you're able to just use a ton of spam, those Larrys to distract the defenses and dragons to push through them, you can actually get through all of those defenses at once. And look at how much force he still has left. Normally when you finish off a Dragon Cliffs, you have a couple of 1 HP troops left over, but he has 2 super dragons, all 2 super dragons and all 3 Inferno dragons that he brought to the map here. So beautiful finish here. Beautiful Dragon Cliffs 2-shot. If you're interested in this tournament as well as ELO, join the Discord server, and I'll also put a picture of IQV's Twitch here, so make sure you give him a follow. He's actually streaming a bunch of the matches from the tournament, as well as the match tomorrow on Sunday, October the 27th, between the other 2 semifinalists. So if you want to check that out, as well as the VOD from the match that I had today earlier, make sure you check out his stream. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed today's attacks, and hopefully I was able to show that Golem is not the most no-brain strategy in the game. There's a lot of little things that you can do to make your attacks a lot more effective when it comes to funneling in your Golem, the supporting troops using those P.E.K.K.A.s when you find good angles for them, and making sure your Golem has all the tools he needs to be successful in his little rocky life. But like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and take care.